Y'all, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Jada Toys Street Fighter Cammy figure. I just had something pop in my mouth. That was weird. Alright, so Cammy, aka Killer Bee, first appeared in Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers, from 1994. Her birth date is January 6th, 1974. From the United Kingdom, fighting styles are Shadowloo and Special Forces. Her likes are cats, cake, and apple pie. Her dislikes are everything when she's in a bad mood. Her skills are knife throwing and horseback riding. Her alignment is usually lawful good, depending on the game and the story. All of this according to the Street Fighter Wiki. The box art is really great. It looks like the old arcade games, and that's cool, but we're not here to talk about that, so let's get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Cammy. Alright, so fresh out the box, this figure looks fantastic. I was so worried that they were gonna just, I don't know, there was just something about Cammy that they would mess up. I don't know, I just felt like the other figures I didn't think that they would have a lot of problems with, but for Cammy, I just thought, I don't know, it just had to be like just right, and I think that they nailed it. She looks and feels fantastic. She's got a decent amount of heft to her, so she doesn't feel frail or too thin or anything like that. And the paint on this figure is just on point. And a lot of that goes to the face. I think they got the face looking perfect, especially on mine. I think that the eyes and just the scar and I don't know, just the face sculpt and paint just looks excellent. And then the paint on the rest of the figure also looks really good, and especially the skin tone. I might talk about this later, but one of my biggest problems that I had with the SH Figuarts version of Cammy was that her skin tone and the sculpt and the muscles just looked kind of mashed potato-y, and it just was very unsightly. I'm just not the biggest fan of it at all. I mean, it's a cool figure and it's neat, but I just don't think it translated very well. However, here, Jada just got it right. You can see some musculature in her legs, but it's not enough to where it's like overly done. It's just very subtle, but like still it's some detail in there to where it's not just a blank flat piece of leg, I guess you'd say. I don't know, that sounds weird to say, but in my opinion, leaps and bounds better, at least compared to the leg portion of the SH Figuarts version. But again, the detail that's in the arm gauntlets is really cool, and her boots look nice with the laces and everything, but most of the sculpt is in her hair and her face, the gauntlets and her boots. Everything else is pretty much just paint, with the exception of like the triangle on her right breast and then her beret. Everything else is pretty much just paint detail, and they look great. Now, granted, she is wearing pretty much just a leotard, so there's not a lot in regards to clothing, but it looks nice. It's very tight, and you can see her abs there, so the sculpt there is really cool. And just overall, this figure feels substantial and doesn't feel like, I don't know, I always have this concern about female action figures because oftentimes, especially with Marvel Legends, they kind of tend to be very frail and very thin and just an afterthought sometimes, which is unfortunate. I think they've kind of turned it around a lot more recently, but this feels excellent, and I am super happy with this. She was another character I was looking forward to because I wasn't entirely pleased with the SH Figuarts version. And if I'm being honest, I think I might get rid of my Figuarts version because this one just knocks it out the park. So Cammy comes with 2 heads, 4 hands, and what I believe to be a cannon spike effect. Alright, let's talk about the articulation you're going to get out of Cammy. So starting at the head, you've got 360 at the neck. She can look up a really good distance. She can look down a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. Side to side, all kinds of wiggle room up in there. Her hair braids have a 360 plug, I guess it is. Just, I don't know that it's a joint necessarily. Can't really tell, but it doesn't look like there's a joint. It might just be a plug. But you got 360 there, and that's really all you need. I mean, I think you can get whatever you're trying to get out of her hair accomplished with that. And then moving on to the neck, I mean, there's some wiggle room in there where it connects to the chest, but not a lot. Moving on to the shoulders, you got 360 at the shoulders. You also got some up and down action. I will say that the way, I don't know if you can see it in here, let me see. So like right in here, the shoulder part of her arm, kind of that muscle goes up a little bit more. So when you bend it in like that, it does kind of impede a little bit, like it can't really go. Like I'm using some force right now to get it to move up, and I can't because it catches there. But if you slide it back and then move it around, you can move it around. But that does, cause some issues with the articulation there. You can work around it, but it might not, and it might not be on everyone's. This might just be mine, but it looks okay when she's like this. But it's noticeable whenever they're apart, when her arms are a little bit more down. But either way, you got some articulation there that you can mess around with. Then you've got 360 at the bicep. You have double jointed elbows. I thought that this might move, this part right here, but it does not. So that is attached at her forearm. But you do get 360 at the wrist, as well as a hinge joint there. So all kinds of wiggle room there for you with the hands. Moving on to the chest, she has a little bit of a rocker there. Mine's a little stiff. This figure in general was really stiff, so I had to get the hairdryer out for some things, but you can move it around a little bit. Mine's really stiff if I try to move her to the right, but if I move her to the left, she's got a little bit more room. But yeah, it's a little tricky to spin this around, so it might be that just mine that it's stuck, or it might actually just be the way it is. I'm not entirely sure, but she can go back quite a distance. She can go forward quite a bit as well. And then moving on to the waist, you have 360 at the waist, which is really good. And she's got all kinds of wiggle room there. Moving on to the legs, she's got an amazing split. Like that's dang, that's wide. Did I say wide? Jeez. I mean, it is wide, but I meant to say it's wild. But yeah, she can literally just do a like flat split. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but that's nuts. And yeah, so she's got swivel at the well, actually she's got a joint at the thigh, and so she can do all kinds of motion there, which is good because that's what this type of character does. She uses her legs a lot, so lots of motion there. She has a 360 cut at the thigh. She has double jointed knees. The boot is cut actually, so you get 360 there, which is really cool. And then you have an ankle rocker, which is neat. And if I'm not mistaken, that is all the articulation that you're going to get out of Cammy. According to the Street Fighter Wiki, Cammy stands somewhere around 5'4" and 5'5" inches tall and weighs around 101 and 134 pounds. This figure stands around 5 5/8 of an inches tall and weighs around 2 ounces. So now let's see how she measures up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here she is with NECA's 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series April O'Neil 2.0 and the NECA knockoff colored bandana Mirage Comics Leonardo. Here she is with the NECA Archie Adventures Slash and the NECA Return to New York Raphael. Here she is with Hasbro's Star Wars Black Darth Vader and Marvel Legends Spider-Man. Here she is with Jazzware's Business Peely and Figma's Shinon. Here she is with Mattel's Masterverse Clawful and Storm Collectibles Sub-Zero. Here she is with NECA's Alf and Jada Toys Iceman. Here she is with Sota's M. Bison and Guile. Here she is with SH Figuarts Chun-Li and Ryu. Here she is with Jada Toys Kin Masters and Dalsim. Here she is with Marvel Selects Juggernaut and Hulk. And here she is with the SH Figuarts version of Cammy. Super Street Fighter 2 felt like a proper, at the time, what would have been, I guess, a DLC to make the game feel complete. One of the things that made that world so much bigger was the 4 characters that they introduced, which was Fei Long, T-Hawk, DJ, and Cammy. In the world of Street Fighter, especially at that time, I mean, being English blonde and just her fighting style and the way she moved really helped to broaden the horizons of this game and make the world seem so much bigger. I think Jada did an excellent job bringing this figure from pixels to plastic. The likeness is so on point, in my opinion. It could be that I wasn't very happy with the SH Figuarts version, even though I know that like they're based on 2 different versions of this character, this being Street Fighter 2 and SH Figuarts being, I think it's Street Fighter 5. It still didn't quite hit me the same way that this one does. This feels just like a proper video game representation from Super Street Fighter 2, as it's intended to be. Jada has continually nailed the likeness in this line just extremely well, and this figure is no exception. She goes so well with the other figures in this line, as well as any other Street Fighter figure from SH Figuarts or Sota, really, in my opinion. She just works with all of it. And not only does she look great, but she also plays great. I had no issues getting her into poses. She was just like a lot of fun. And that goes a long way with action figures, because if the figure's cumbersome or just not really fun to move around, then, I mean, what's the point? Get a statue. It's the little things that make this figure so good. And one of those things, well, I guess it's 2 things, are her braids. The fact that they put the joint in there to where they can articulate, that just opened up a world of posing possibilities. It just really helps with the fluidity of the shot, and I really appreciate that. And then also, her hand accessories are awesome. Like, I'm always going to say that I think that every action figure should come with fists, open hands, and at least 1 pointing finger. And she comes with 2 of the 3 things right there. She doesn't have the pointing finger, but she has the open hands. And now the fingers are closed, or they're like pressed up against each other. So it's not necessarily like Spider-Man open hands, but still I think it works. And I still give it credit for that, because the fact that she has the open hands, she can put her hands on her hips, she can throw them in the air like she's like being very expressive. And also pairing that with the extra head with the open mouth is just really awesome. And just, again, just more options and a lot of really cool possibilities with what you can do with this figure. So with all of that being said, I had a blast posing this figure and getting some shots with her. She was a lot of fun. She works really well with her accessory, on top of going really well with the SH Figuarts Street Fighters line and the Sota Street Fighter line. She also goes really well with Marvel Legends and a bunch of other lines. Like, she just kind of fits in. She's the right height and stuff that she can just work with those things. And she's got enough of an animated look to her that she can kind of play in a bunch of different worlds. And that's really cool. The only issue that I noticed once I got going with this review and editing it is that there's this weird vein on her left breast that isn't really that visible unless you're like looking for it, but like under a certain light it kind of becomes more apparent. Like right now I'm looking at her on my shelf just under like normal room light, can't see nothing. But if you got like a bright light on her, you can kind of see it. And it looks like it might be a stress line, but it kind of looks like a vein, like actually like on like in her body. Like, it's kind of weird, but I kind of love it because a lot of people don't know the backstory to a lot of these Street Fighter characters. So if someone's like looking at your collection and be like, why does she have that? I mean, who knows? It could be part of the story for all they know, and to who this character is. And I mean, I don't know. And it could also be my ignorance. I mean, I'm a huge Street Fighter fan, but there are things that I don't know. So that might actually be intended. I haven't taken the time to actually look into that. But let me know in the comments if I'm missing something here with that, or if yours also has something like that. Definitely let me know. But regardless, I still think it really looks cool, and I'm probably going to keep this one unless I can find one that absolutely does not have it and it bothers me enough to replace it. but I don't think it's that big of a deal, at least for now. But I do think that I love this figure so much that I'm actually going to get rid of my SH Figuarts version of Cammy, just because this one is just a way better representation of the character that I know and love, which is from Super Street Fighter 2. And also because she doesn't have the unsightly mashed potato legs, which I'm not really trying to body shame anybody here at all, because, I mean, obviously I have no room to talk because mine probably look like, I don't know, some weird turkey. It just doesn't look right or even normal. Like as a person that's supposed to be that fit, they shouldn't have. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting into some weird territory here, but it's just not to my liking in the sense of like what this character is. And this is a better representation of what that character is, in my opinion. So anyway. So that all being said, if you've been collecting this line, then you will definitely need and won't be disappointed with this figure. Or if you're looking for a Cammy figure to go on a Marvel vs. Capcom shelf, then I think you can't do any better than this version. If you're collecting figures of blonde British babes who can totally kick your ass, then she certainly belongs there. If you have a shelf of characters with berets, then she'll work there as well. Or if you have a shelf dedicated to badass characters and leotards, then you absolutely have to make room front and center for this version of Cammy. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. Did I get anything loud and wrong? Do you have the weird vein on her chest like I do? Let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.